Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again. And yes, I'm in the basement again because I want to do this live stream review of the MCU's first live action show of 2023, Secret Invasion. Yes, from the month of June that came out with Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury and Talos played by Ben Mendelsohn, etc., etc. We'll get to the cast. It's based on the 2008 Marvel Comics storyline of the same name. It's the ninth television series in the MCU, not counting Agent Carter or Inhumans or any other Netflix shows. Yeah, it shares continuity with the films, of course. It follows Nick Fury and Talos as they uncover a conspiracy by the group of shape-shifting Skrulls to conquer Earth. Bradstreet serves as the head writer with Ali Salim directing. The show has its moments. It is well made. The production is there. The effects are mostly good. The makeup effects are good on the Skrulls. Some of the action is competently shot. There's some gorgeous cinematography in some of the show when Nick Fury is walking or there's far out shots. It is well made, but the show has a lot of problems, but I'll get to that. Samuel Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn, they tried the best they could, even though Mendelsohn is like unfairly killed off in the show. Yes. Or, tried to. Him and Colby Smulders are just like underused in the second half of the show. Yeah, and you have Martin Freeman has a small part in it. You have Christopher McDonald. He's one of the members of the Skrulls. The series got mixed reviews. I know. It said they praised Jackson's performance, but criticized the writing, the pacing, and the visual effects. Some of the effects are good. Some of it is dated. Because, again, they didn't have a big budget for this. This is not a $200 million budget show. You can definitely tell. The writing, some of the characters suck in this show. I admit that. The main villain, Gravik, played by freaking Kingsley Ben-Adir, is awful. He's forgettable. He's over the top for no reason. He doesn't really do anything. And he has superpowers from the other Avengers like Groot and Captain Marvel, etc., etc. I'm like, why are you making this guy less interesting? When you give a character more powers than they need, they become less interesting. I already have Superman, Shazam, and the real Captain Marvel. Why do I want to see a substitute? Just saying, guys. Olivia Colman, I couldn't stand her in the show. I never liked this actress. I don't care how many Oscar nominations she's got. She's boring. She sounds like Mary Poppins, and she's one of the most violent characters in the show. One episode, she's cutting a guy's finger off. Secret Invasion is bland and boring, in my opinion. It has nothing to offer. I'm never going to watch it again, Milos. Trust me. I sat through the whole show. I never need to watch this again. I'll just watch Captain Marvel again and pretend that nothing happened after that. I'll just pretend that Far From Home was the last time we saw the Skrulls. Because basically it was Far From Home in Phase 3. And then we had one Skrull at the end of WandaVision. That should have been the end. This show, I think, was just not needed this far in the year. Because this has not been a good year for superhero movies. 2 of them made money. 2 of them. Spider-Verse and Guardians 3. Ant-Man barely made money. It made enough, but it should have made more if they didn't release it in the freaking dead of winter. Some of the visuals, like the CGI at the end in the last fight scene with Talos' daughter, who can't act in the movie. I said this before and I'll say it again. I don't give a damn about Game of Thrones. I never watched that series. Daenerys being in the show, she was boring. She can't emote at all. And just because you're playing an alien doesn't mean you can't emote. Look at Gamora in the Guardians films. Look at Nebula, and she's part like android. One thing I could say about Zoe Saldana and Karen Gillan, they're not phoning it in. They're showing emotion on their face. They're not, why are you talking to me? And all that. She sounds like a freaking robot. And I'm like, that's why they shouldn't have casted Emilia Clarke. Anybody else would have done better. Killian Scott, who was the pagan, he was a rebel Skrull in the beginning of the show. He also gets underused. Dermot Mulroney, he plays Ritson, the president of the United States. He did fine for what he had to do. Richard Dormer as Priest Scott, a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who uncovered the Skrulls' plan to invade the Earth. He did fine. So Colby Smulders did the best she could with her limited screen time. Don Cheadle is always great as Rhodey, even though he's a Skrull here. But the invasion really wasn't much of a secret when we already in the first episode knew that some of these people were Skrulls. It's painfully obvious. That's the problem. When there were Skrulls in Captain Marvel, that was more of a shock. we didn't even know that they weren't even evil in that movie. But then when we got to this, they explain, oh, they're trying to invade Earth and they're trying to steal the Avengers' DNA to make super soldiers of more like Skrull Avengers, and it's not working for me. And also the show, like the first 3 episodes were way too long. The first episode was like 58 minutes long. It was almost feature length, and it didn't need to be that long. There's a lot of padding, and like Oppenheimer has the same problem. Too much talking. I'm fine with cutting out the comedy. You don't need the comedy here. The show is very dark and in tone and more adult, and I get that. But making this every episode like half the episodes are like 50 minutes and others were like 30 or 40 minutes. You could have done this in 30 minutes or less. You don't need padding. These Bintos always make freaking things longer. And why? Nolan, we don't want to see a 3-hour movie. We don't want to see a 3-hour movie. Oppenheimer is too freaking long. Half your movies are too long. Cut the trim the fat. You're just like James Cameron. You would just want to make things long so people can sit there and wait. I don't want to do that. I've done that already in all these Marvel movies and all these Marvel shows that I've seen. The only ones I haven't seen is What If, because I don't like the animation, and I didn't finish She-Hulk because it's garbage. This isn't garbage. It's just it could have been better. If the pandemic had not happened, I think the show could have came out like 3 years ago. Yeah, it could have came out in 2020, not in 2023 when people are just over the superhero thing. They got superhero fatigue and blockbuster fatigue. That's why all these movies have flopped or underperformed. It's sad because there are some good movies that came out this summer that deserve better, like Mission Impossible. If it didn't come out before Barbenheimer, it would have made $1 billion by now. This show, I keep saying movie because it feels like a mini movie, got a 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. They state, a well-deserved showcase for Samuel Jackson. He's the best thing in the show. Watch it for him. Nothing else, just watch it for him. Secret Invasion steadily itself after a somewhat slow start. Yeah, it's too slow. I don't watch these Marvel shows for the talking. I can watch the movies for that or the cartoons. I don't need my shows being 80% talking and 20% action. Don't bore me to death. The CW did that for years with the last couple of seasons of The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and Supergirl and Stargirl. They put too much damn talking. I know it's a superhero show. It's based on a comic. They don't have this much talking. Unless the comic is a graphic novel that's like 700 pages. Yeah. But it says it's a much darker, more mature direction. That works in small doses. But for over 50 minutes, it doesn't. It's just padded. And while they took the comedy out because, Love and Thunder and She-Hulk had too much comedy, this didn't have any comedy. The villain's overacting. I'm like, I can't take you seriously. You're not scary. And I don't want a second season of this. I'm fine with waiting until the show barely has any action. I know, Milos. You don't have to tell me. The only memorable characters are Fury, Mendelsohn because he was in the other films in small doses, and Colby Smulders in that first episode. And it said Feige stated that a secret invasion would lead into armor wars. I hope that's not boring. And the Marvels, in which Jackson reprises his role as Fury and also serves a continuation, in addition to narrative threads from Endgame and WandaVision and Miss Marvel, because you got Monica Rambeau and Kamala. That movie is going to be better than this. I can almost guarantee it. Just those 3 actresses alone will bring me more joy than any of the females in this show. The only female I liked besides Colby Smulders was that black woman that was also a Skrull. She gave Fury kind of an arc. So I kind of cared about her, just didn't love her because she didn't have enough time on screen. Not every comic, Marvel, not every comic needs to be a TV show. If you don't have enough material for 6 to 8 episodes, don't make it that long. Make it 3 episodes. That will save me time, and I don't have to be bored out of my mind. That's the problem. There's some decent action in there when it's there. Nick Fury's good, and Colby Smulders, but there's just too much padding. Too many Bintos, too many characters. Cut the fat next time, Marvel. Miss Marvel did not have 45 characters. Just saying. It was shorter, and it was funnier, and it was much more lighthearted. The show should have less talking. Exactly. I don't watch a superhero show for talking. I don't watch a superhero movie for too much talking. I don't watch a freaking movie in the theater for 3 hours with talking. I can hear my dad talk for 3 hours. I don't need to see that on the big screen in Oppenheimer. I also don't need forced jokes like, gay jokes, jokes about vaginas, jokes about penises, jokes about a gynecologist. I don't need any of that, and I don't need preaching either. We get it. This world is in danger. We get it. You don't have to put social commentary about Black Lives Matter and freaking Russians in this freaking show. Just saying, guys. I'll never watch it again. I don't hate it. Josh is going to say, I hate it. I don't hate it. There's things about it I liked, and there's a lot about it I didn't like. It's not even the worst show, because She-Hulk is the worst. I couldn't even finish that. Loki, I finally finished it. I finished it. I never have to watch it again. I can move on. In small doses, there's like, if you took all 6 of these episodes and stringed it into one movie, that would have been fine with me. Trim all the fat in the social commentary. You don't need it here. Marvel doesn't need to preach anymore. While there were no gay characters, I'm happy about that, because I've had enough of that. You didn't need this. You didn't need a show that was the 90% talking. Just picked up the same T-shirt. Hey, Travis, thanks. I like this T-shirt. My dad got it for me at Walmart. Anyway, if you want to see this show, know that what you're getting into. You're going to have a lot of talking, a lot of walking, a lot of social commentary. You're going to have people speaking in an alien scroll language. You're going to have a lot of death in it, because that's what this show had an abundance of. And, while Fury is good in the show and keeps it from being a complete disaster, it's not worth watching a second time. Just wait till the Marvels comes out. It's going to be better. It's not going to be 90% talking. You're not going to have these girls just talking in a room for 2 hours. No, let them kick some ass. That's what we're there to see, the spectacle. And not every Marvel movie and show it doesn't need to have a CGI fight scene at the end. It's not always it's not always needed. It's not always needed. I think the last episode would have worked better if it had been Fury confronted Gravik. Yeah, instead it's got to be Daenerys from freaking Game of Thrones, a character we barely saw on the show that appears like in 2 scenes in each episode, doesn't do shit, and then when she's at the last episode, she's like, I'm going to turn into this overpowered nothing. They're splitting, like a copy of Captain Marvel. You know why Brie got over? Because she's not boring. She's interesting and sexy. You're not, Emilia Clarke. You look like a little girl here. Just stop acting, please. Spare us the rod. While she can be decent in other things, here she's boring. Getting the powers of the people he brought him. Exactly. I know that Samuel Jackson's in the 70s, but come on, guys. It's his show, not Talos' daughter. We don't care about her. I barely cared about her when she was a little girl at the end of Captain Marvel. I watched Captain Marvel and the Marvels. I watch it for Brie. It's her story. Gravik says it's impossible. Fury said you don't get what I do for as long as I have without some alien blood in your veins. Exactly. And like I said, the Marvels will not be as boring as this in some parts. Just saying. Just having these girls be in space and fighting all these Skrulls and whatever, they're going to fight that old black lady with gray hair. Yeah, with gray anime hair. Hey, she'll be boring, but I'm not watching it for her. I'm watching it for my 3 girls, Brie, Tiana, and Iman. Everything else I don't care about can screw off and die. But anyway, that's my review of Secret Invasion. It is what it is. It's a one watch for me. That's all you need to do. I can see why it's one of the lowest watched shows of 2023. People want to see action. They want to see interesting dialogue. They want to have lighthearted humor when it works. Why was Last of Us better than this? It didn't feel as long. Except for the gay episode that was an hour too long. Most of the rest of the show was great to look at, and it was easy to follow. And Joel and Ellie are much better characters than freaking Talos' daughter and Gravik. Sorry, but it's true. But anyway, thanks for watching, Milos and Travis, and I did this on a whim because I want to review it and get it out of the way. See it at your own discretion. I don't think it's a complete waste of time. There's some things in it that work, and there's a lot that doesn't. So it's a mixed bag. So take that for what you will. See it at your own discretion. You don't want to see it, I completely understand. Trust me. I've been burned by these Marvel shows before. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll review something better next time. See you later. There we go.